Welcome to Learn to Live Stress-Free. This is Christine Wright with Dr. Robert Wright Jr., your go-to wellness coaches of StressFreeNow.info. Our featured guest today is Carey Davidson, CEO of Tournesol Wellness, speaking on her novel Ultimate Relaxation program that balances and nourishes mind, body, and soul. Carey Davidson is the founder and CEO of Tournesol Wellness, an integrative healing arts and medical practice based in New York City. Tournesol is the exclusive location in the tri-state area for vibroacoustic sound therapy on a liquid table. Carey developed a treatment combining her gift for intuitive energy balancing and vibroacoustics to help people recognize their own innate abilities to create new possibilities for a profound and purposeful life. Carey speaks on panels about integrative medicine, writes regular holistic health columns, and gives private sessions. She has been covered in W Magazine, The New York Observer, and NBC News. Carey is also founder and executive director of Tournesol Kids, a 501c3 nonprofit organization empowering children with holistic strategies to live healthy, resilient, and successful lives. You can find out more about Carey's work at tournesolwellness.com and on her Instagram and Facebook pages. Carey, welcome. Audience, welcome. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina. I loved listening to that. I'm like, wow, I want to meet that woman.
She is. She sounds fantastic, and we know that she is.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes, hi, Carey. This is Dr.
Hey,
Bob.
Bob.
We are so happy to have you here today as our featured guest. And audience, you are in for a treat. Carey is in New York City and located in Midtown Manhattan. So this will be a fun broadcast. So, Carey, please share with our audience how you came to found your company, Tournesol Wellness, and how you came to be located in Midtown Manhattan.
Sure, Bob. So I've been thinking about this. Someone recently asked me, what was the inspiration behind Tournesol? And it's funny because I just kind of laughed because I'm thinking, my God, it's probably been just the confluence of so many things in my life. Just, I guess, if I had asked you guys, how did you get to where you are? It's like, well, when I was 3 years old, X happened and that happened. And so, I clearly had to not tell you my entire life story here. So thinking like, what are like the real solid turning points or inspiration points that led me here. And I would say it kind of comes down to three major things for me. One, a few years back, I was working at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital, and I was the executive director of a nonprofit helping underserved kids with art therapy. And I would see these beautiful children come in for their one session a week, where thankfully they would have this time to unwind and to go inside and to feel safe. And then I would see, we would send them back out into the environments that reinforced all the reasons why they came to us in the first place. And my heart would break a little, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, what are we doing? And I started to have conversations with people around how did we get here and what is this process, and why aren't we talking to the parents, and why aren't we talking to the kids about what they're eating? I mean, there's so many components that make up happiness and health, and they're not being addressed in one place. So, nobody was really saying, okay, Carey, let's just do a holistic program here. And that's really not the way, most healthcare settings are set up. So it started as an internal frustration that I started to research more and started to come up with some ideas on what might work better. And so that was one little nugget that started me on this path. And the other was I got divorced about 7.5 years ago. And as part of my own healing process, I felt like I needed to spend some time by myself. And I got on a plane by myself and flew to the south of France in summer of 2010 to bike ride through the Provence. And while I was there, I noticed all these beautiful fields of sunflowers. And they were magnificent. I'd never seen a field of sunflowers. I mean, I live in New York City, and there's buckets of them, at the corner bodegas every other block. But I've never seen, right? I've never seen how they grow. And I was blown away because they all face the same direction. I mean, thousands and thousands of sunflowers all standing in the same, in the same position. And I also noticed that throughout the day they migrated, and I realized that they're facing the sun, and they turn towards the sun throughout the day. And I asked someone, how do you say sunflower in French? And he said Tournesol. And Tournesol literally translated into English means turn toward the sun. And I got off my bike and I cried like heck, and I wrote in my journal about how this was going to be a metaphor for my healing journey, that I needed to know that whenever the negative thoughts came in and whenever I felt like it couldn't get any worse, that I just needed to keep my face up and remember to face the light. And I'm going to cry right now. Because
I am too, listening to you, Carey, because I think that is so beautiful, because I know very, 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 very little French, but yes, absolutely, Tournesol, turn towards the sun. That is a fantastic metaphor, and you kept it for the business. That's perfect.
Yeah, because I knew, I'm like, all right, I've got to take some responsibility here. It's so easy to be the victim and say that, someone else is causing my pain, or it's his fault, that I'm miserable, or, it's her fault that I lost that deal, or whatever. It's just so easy to go there, and it's so much harder to step up and say, all right, what's going on in me? What part am I playing in my not feeling well? And how can I shift it? So there was a sense of understanding that we could empower ourselves. So it was noticing, the healthcare system was just not holistic. Noticing that all of a sudden, I had to go to the south of France and get lost in the field of sunflowers, but realizing that, wait a minute, I have a lot of power over turning myself around and feeling better. And then, the other thing was my ability, I would say this kind of cemented everything, was that I've been different my whole life. I didn't fit in. I was always just on the outskirts of the cool crowd, or didn't really understand why girls could be so catty, and didn't understand why people weren't talking more about what's on the other side of the end of the universe, and is there an end? Really kind of dreamy. I would get lost in thought and imagination and ideas, and so even into my 30s, I would say, I just felt like while I was successful in my life, I felt like I didn't have balance. I just didn't fit entirely. And about 5.5 years ago, I realized kind of what was going on. I have an ability to see a broad spectrum of information. So I'm kind of seeing, I can see auras. I see and understand the, core motivations, for what may be off-center in a person to be causing a physical or an emotional imbalance. And I'm very empathetic. I can kind of feel what people are feeling. And so I'm processing a lot of information. And I think the combination of being that sensitive, being able to understand, all right, so this is kind of why people get sick and how we hold on to it, and knowing that we can empower ourselves, and also knowing that we need a holistic model to really, really be sustainably happy and healthy. That really was the three core things that led me to create Tournesol. And Bob, you asked me about why did I locate in Midtown Manhattan?
Yes.
I don't know, man. No, I'm kidding. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. So I've been in New York since 1990, but still, there's something in me that still feels like a Southern girl. So opening a business in Midtown Manhattan, when I think about it, is kind of funny. But I have a business consultant who is also probably my best friend. And I ran this idea by her when I was thinking about it. She said, Carey, this is why you're here. You need to do this. And she said, it's time to start looking for a space. So I Googled commercial space Manhattan. And what came up were, kind of bait and switch that looked really great for a really great price in a really great location, but then they didn't exist. But I've got this much more expensive place for you in a totally different neighborhood if you want. So then I actually went to Craigslist and I looked at commercial space there, and there is this lovely man who is a real estate agent here in Murray Hill, which is like the, Midtown East area in Manhattan, and who had posted some spaces that looked and felt like they really existed. I don't know, something about his energy felt lovely, so I gave him a call. And I started to explain what I wanted to build, and he said, oh, I totally get it. I know, I feel ya. I know what you want to build, and I have the perfect place for you. And he met me here, and this is the only place I saw. And we negotiated an amazing lease with them, for a first-time business owner was just mind-blowing and a blessing, and probably some magic involved in that.
It sounds like it, but it really sounds like it really fits.
It so does. I wanted it to be a home. I would always get nervous when I went to the doctor. And part of that is the environment. It was sterile, and I wanted people to come here, come into a place that felt like a house, and felt like they were coming. I was welcoming them in to hang out for tea or something, and at the same time, they were going to learn how to heal. And it should be a joyous occasion. And it is. It's actually a 2-story maisonette in Manhattan. And it used to be, there's a long history here. We're right across the street from the Morgan Library. And J.P. Morgan's carriage driver used to live here at one point. And it was also a boarding house at one point. I have a picture of it from the 1920 census. There's a winding wooden staircase up to the second floor. People come in and they feel like they've been transported. They're not in Manhattan anymore. There's this feeling of energy that's in here. It's just
Murray Hill is a very homey type of neighborhood, so I can definitely see you're in Midtown, but you have that type of atmosphere.
Great. So Carey, this is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that story of how you came to found your company and be where you are. When you were talking, I was experiencing my own synchronicity, because when you mentioned Provence, I remember right around in the same year that you mentioned, I was supposed to go to Provence that summer, but I ended up going to Montreal instead. And so I have yet to visit Provence. So when you were saying that, I said, wow, your experience of seeing flowers instead of rows and rows of bodegas, that really resonated with me. So this goes right into the next question that I have for you, and I'm sure our audience really wants to know about this and learn about that. You do a vibroacoustic sound therapy. Now, that's a big word. So I'm sure that there are many people who would be unfamiliar with what that is, even though you can figure out what the words are. So could you describe for our listeners what vibroacoustic sound therapy is and what they might experience when they would come to your facility, and what the benefits are and what kind of issues that type of therapy solves for people?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So when I was building the business model and the health model, actually, at Tournesol, I wanted I wanted to research what other top-notch integrative facilities in the United States were doing, because why recreate the wheel if it already existed? So I found the Scripps Hospital, in San Diego, and they were award-winning for their integrative practices, and I wanted to know, what are they doing? I'm looking through their website, and they have meditation, and they have nutrition, and they have yoga, and all the stuff that I knew I wanted to incorporate. But they also had vibroacoustic sound therapy there, and I had never heard of that. So I started to do my own research to see, what is this? And I found that National Institutes of Health had been studying vibroacoustics for almost 25 years, and other medical schools and scientists. And so I thought, all right, I'm really, really interested to understand more about this and perhaps bring it to Tournesol, because there's nobody in New York that has this right now. And I loved that there was science behind it. I loved that it was a science-based therapy and that it was experiential. It was something different. So basically what I learned and what vibroacoustics is, it's an evidence-based therapy that works on resonant frequencies, which means that, our cells are all vibrating, and our cells will copy vibrations that are introduced to the body. So when you go to a concert, for example, and it's loud, you feel the bass in your chest. So the experience of that on a cellular level is that this really loud sound is being forced out through the air, through the speakers, and it touches your body, and it's so strong that your cells pick it up and resonate with that exact same frequency, which is why you feel exactly the same sound that you're hearing. You feel it in your body. So our cells just do that. If you're, a New Yorker and you're riding on the subway and you're holding onto a subway pole, and it's vibrating, you may feel the vibrations, depending on how strong they are, traveling up your arm a little bit. So anytime you touch something that's vibrating, your cells copy that vibration. So with vibroacoustics, scientists have identified and then isolated the healthy vibration of cells from different functions and parts of the body, and then created MP3s. We have them all in MP3s, which I then can transduce through a treatment table where someone is laying down. So you'd be laying down on a treatment table. We have a waterbed, and also we have a second one that's memory foam. So it's mushy, but it's not splashy. And so you're laying on this table with gentle vibrations being transduced through it, and your cells are taking on the healthy vibration that's being introduced to the body, and then in turn copying that healthy behavior. So it's almost like parenting. I have 3 kids. So, you introduce healthy behaviors to your children, and you hope that they copy them. So it's the same idea on a cellular level. So that's kind of the science behind it. The experience for people at Tournesol, they will come, they fill out an intake form where they talk a little bit about what their symptoms are and what's going on for them. There are a few contraindications. So there are some people who can't do vibroacoustics. For example, people with a deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot, can't do vibroacoustics because vibroacoustics speeds up circulation, and you don't want to move a blood clot. So that's number 1. Number 2, people with a pacemaker, because there are the transducers that are mounted under the table are speakers, and they have magnets in them. And magnets and pacemakers don't mix well. And also people with an open cut or internal bleeding or recent surgery that hasn't, where the incision hasn't healed completely, again, because it speeds up circulation, that you want your blood to clot and those open wounds to heal. So someone with a recent surgery, something like that, also can't do vibroacoustics. But we have over 100 different frequencies that are customized for anything physical, emotional, or spiritual going on for people. So I have frequencies that I use with veterans for PTSD. I have frequencies for MS, Parkinson's, fibromyalgia, arthritis, hip pain, knee pain, the entire endocrine system, all the Chinese meridians, all the chakras, all the organs, the different sections of the back for pain. I have a frequency for cannabis that I've been using for chronic pain, for cancer patients, for insomnia, and for Parkinson's patients. So, I really take a lot of care to make sure that I'm combining what's essentially a playlist for each person that can address all the layers of what may be the symptoms and also the underlying cause of why something is coming up.
Carey, so
yeah.
I just want to ask this specific question, fine-tuning it. So what has been the response when the clients come in? Do they pop off the bed and say, this was amazing, or do people fall into a deep sleep because so many people are sleep deprived, and it sounds like your method would give people a deep level of rest?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Very few people actually fall asleep. The way they describe it is they were not really asleep, but they were definitely not wide awake. So it's almost a sense of, I guess if you were going into a deep meditative state, that could be, you're not really here, you're definitely not asleep, but you're not awake and aware and mind racing and doing your lists in your head. So there's definitely a sense of very deep relaxation that kicks in pretty soon after you lay down. The science behind, the relaxation response kicking in the body is, it says anywhere from 20 to 22 minutes for the body to kick into that really deep relaxation spot. And I would say that's probably right around what I've seen for people, although you're definitely relaxed pretty soon after you lay down, but that deep state takes about 20 minutes. And in terms of how they feel when they come off the table, there's a few minutes of kind of coming back into your body, if that makes sense. It's almost like if you were to get an hour-long facial or a massage, any kind of relaxation treatment, or even acupuncture, right? It kind of takes you a couple minutes to come back into the world. So it's the same feeling. However, the responses we get from people after they get off the table are anything from, wow, do I look like I just had a facelift? Because it really relieves layers of heaviness, emotional heaviness, in addition to all the other health benefits. So people feel lighter. They feel like they floated out of there. They feel a combination of energized relaxation. It's like I feel like I can do whatever I need to do. But at the same time,
that sounds more my speed than what I thought of when you said when you spoke about the vibroacoustics. I thought about the times that I have been to parties and got too close to a speaker, or when I was at a parade when they have the giant speakers there, and I would feel that in my chest, and it would feel very discordant, and I would notice people around me that seemed quite content with the level, and it wasn't the sound I was hearing that was disturbing to me. It was the feeling in my body. And I would look around at people with babies, and I would say, I don't think this is any place for a young child, because my body felt uncomfortable. It wasn't so much my ears, the sound,
Yeah.
Now, Carey, I wanted to ask you this question, because you spoke about how empathetic and intuitive you are, and I can see that, when you were describing the sunflowers and just the way they were turning to the sun and how you came to the name. I'm curious, how do you use your intuition in your practice? Because it sounded, the way you described the playlist when clients come in of what you're using it with, are you doing this according to what they say about what they need, or do you add more of what you sense they might need in addition to what they're saying?
So it's a really good question, and I'm about to speak on a panel with a couple of doctors about how to combine intuition and medicine, and where's that balance, and how do we use it? And so I've been thinking about it a lot in terms of, putting it into words instead of just daily practice and, things I just do every day. So my answer is that it's a combination of both listening with my ears, the way we all do, but also listening with all of myself. So that piece of being intuitive is that I'm so sensitive to, I guess, everything about the person that's communicating. So it's what they wrote down on their form. It's the words that they say. It's how they say their words. It's their eyes. It's how they hold their body. But what it usually follows a conversation where I won't do anything that I don't validate with the person, in terms of putting on a frequency on their playlist. I will, let's say, for example, very common is back pain. So someone will come in, I'll read their chart, and it says, their intake form says lower back pain and sleep, that they want to work on sleep. So we'll have a very normal sounding conversation about how long they've had the back pain and when did it start, and do they remember a time in their life that when they didn't have back pain, and was there a trigger? Does it get worse when they're under stress? Was it an injury? So through that conversation and just listening, not only to the words, but feeling, I don't know if this makes sense, but feeling their answers. So I kind of allow their answers to kind of penetrate my energy. So I'm listening with so many more senses than just my ears. And I'll start, I guess I'm an empath in some way. I can start to feel certain points in my body ache a little bit. It's a mild ache. Those are cues to kind of what's the root emotion going on here. So, for example, I can feel a nudge kind of like in my liver area when there's some underlying frustration or anger going on. So I might ask, are you, I don't know if this is are you quick to anger sometimes? Does anger come easily to you? Or are you angry about certain things that you don't feel like you can talk about? Like I'll feel my throat tighten when people I'm working with aren't necessarily comfortable, or they don't feel safe speaking their truth. So if I get a combination of someone coming in with lower back pain, I feel a nudge in my liver area and a tightness in my throat, that's a cue for me to ask that question. Do you feel, are you frustrated or angry about things that you may not be talking about? And then that leads us into a second layer of the conversation. Well, yes, my boyfriend, something, he won't wash the dishes after he makes dinner. So,
hey, that
very
can't be
much.
the case. Wait,
right.
It can't be the case, or it's always the case.
Well, it sounds like you are built for this, and Bob and I certainly understand, because we too believe, and we've spoken to this in our audiences before, of intuition, and we've actually had an intuitive on our show who talks about this, that you can sense things and know things with more than just listening or seeing, that there are other faculties. So we completely understand. So, those who have listened to our show before would be familiar with this. So I want to thank you for that. And let's come back in a moment. We'll take a short break here on Learn to Live Stress-Free with today's featured guest, Carey Davidson, founder and CEO of Tournesol Wellness.
Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Wright, Jr., the Stress Relief Doctor, co-host of the Learn to Live Stress-Free podcast series. I'm an author, speaker, and stress management wellness coach. My published study is the first to show the connection between stress reduction, grief recovery, nitric oxide spiking, and the relaxation response. And my practical application of this knowledge helps you relieve the stresses of everyday life. I have the tools to dissolve your pain points quickly and effectively. Email me to find out how you can start to feel better now at stressfreenow.info/contact. That's stressfreenow.info/contact. Have you been procrastinating about completing an important project or pursuing a treasured dream? Christine Wright specializes in helping her coaching clients to lay out clear, elegant strategies. She shows you how to quickly build your confidence to uncover and eliminate your habitual patterns of resistance and self-sabotage. Christine helps you discover those meaningful insights that will get you to do what works so you can celebrate your successes. Go to stressfreenow.info/contact to let Christine know that you're ready to live your ideal life now. Again, that's stressfreenow.info/contact. Hi, Carey. One of the things that we have been most impressed with is the fact that not only are you using a unique and novel protocol to help people with healthy well-being, but you also have a full integrative health team that works collaboratively with you. Can you tell our listeners more about the services you and your staff offer at your facility?
Absolutely. I wanted to create this holistic health environment, right? So when I was seeing that we weren't treating and helping people from a holistic perspective back when I was running the kids nonprofit at Columbia, I wanted to create my dream team of people who could address all of the variables in one place that were impacting our ability to live healthy, happy, and balanced lives. And so I started to look for modalities that I felt like, all right, I would feel comfortable if I was going to take my child to this type of therapist and this particular therapist. So we have people who do acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine here, naturopathic medicine, holistic nutrition, Jinshin Jitsu. Do you guys know what Jinshin is?
No.
Have you heard of that?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
So Jinshin is a gentle therapy that to get a treatment, you lay on the treatment table and the practitioner applies very gentle touches on acupressure points. And it's incredibly relaxing and healing. And there's a whole self-help component to it, which I love. So you can actually do these locks, they call them locks, where you touch certain points on yourself to relieve certain emotional or physical stressors. And it's used in the Ronald McDonald House and, in hospitals and emergency rooms, ICUs. It's fabulous. We have manual therapies like massage, lymphatic drainage, craniosacral therapy, myofascial, yoga, meditation, Reiki. We have integrative pediatrics, integrative medical with MDs, integrative nurse coaching. So we have a combination of manual therapies, medical, movement, mind, body, and I really wanted to have a good choice, options for people. I wanted to have options for people because what appeals to me may not appeal to the next person, but it doesn't really matter how you get there a lot of times. Some people to relieve stress can walk around the block and be fine, and some people need psychotherapy, and some people need a yoga pose. But I wanted to be able to present people with really good, solid options that combined the best of what we have on the conventional side with the more natural side.
That makes perfect sense to us. We're on board with that. Now, for those of our listeners who might not share this belief, and that's understandable because, as you said, we each have differences of opinion, and what works for one person may not work for another. One person can eat ice cream with nuts, the other one is allergic to it, or maybe not ice cream with all the sugar in it. But so what are the benefits of using an integrative, holistic approach?
Well, this goes back to my time at Columbia, seeing where we have kids who come in for one component of health one time a week. And we're going back out into the environment that reinforces all the reasons why they're coming for help in the first place. I mean, that applies to all of us across the board. I think it's frustrating in one sense because we've gotten to the place where we want a quick fix. We don't want our lives to be impacted. We don't want to do any work to change our lifestyle or not eat the ice cream with the nuts. We'd rather take a pill that relieves the symptoms of eating that ice cream with the nuts. But I think the benefits are so, long-lasting and preventative, and they build such strength in the mind and the body going forward if we're willing to put in the work. So I think it's a combination. Combination is key, combining the best of what conventional medicine can offer. This is not to say that we don't need medication. Of course we need medication. Of course we need diagnostics and surgery. I think that if we can heal from a more natural perspective, I think we need to know what our options are. So I think a part of the frustration is that we're not, as consumers of medicine in the United States, we're not educated about the benefits of a more holistic approach. We're not educated about how if we change our lifestyle and the food that we eat, we may prevent chronic disease as we age. I mean, our doctors are not even educated in that. I mean, they don't take, most doctors don't take any nutrition courses in medical school at all. So I think, having an integrative approach is really key because we are physical, we are emotional, and we are spiritual. And if one of those components is off balance, it kicks the other components of our lives off balance. And if we look at everything together, we tend to have better health outcomes. And also a team-based approach. For me, that was really key. The research I did before opening Tournesol really showed that there are much better health outcomes when there's a team approach. But most practitioners and most offices are not set up to accommodate a team-based approach. And most doctors are not compensated for getting on the phone with your psychotherapist or your nutritionist or your acupuncturist to discuss your case. And many won't do it. So if you're relying on one person and that person's emotions and that person's experience of their day and stressors, they may miss something. We're all human. And if you've got a team behind you, I frequently have seen that, one clinician will pick up on something that another one missed. And it's really, and also a patient or client will open up more, to one person than another. And it depends what time of day and what's going on for that client, right? In terms of what they're going to open up about. So on Monday morning, they may see the physician and be exhausted and not really in the mood to talk about how they feel after they,
Actually, Carey, I think that's a very excellent and key point because many times people might prepare in their mind what they're going to say and they may forget something important that's key. Mm-hmm. So having a conversation with more than one clinician will be helpful because as they get out of their script, they're likely to mention this key component. And we definitely, want to thank you for sharing these views with our audience because something that I have noticed in my practice is that people are movement deprived. Many people are sitting at a desk all day long. So a lot of the therapies that you have talked about, it would make sense for people to incorporate this in their lives, whether a weekly practice of being on the vibroacoustic table, or people may need more physical relief than they realize. Mm-hmm. So listening to you, that was the thought that came to my head. And we truly appreciate every single thing that you have shared with us today. And the work that you're doing sounds so fantastic, and we're really happy that you could introduce this work and talk about it to our audience, and we want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Now, Carey, how can people get in touch with you or find you and learn more about all this wonderful work that you're doing?
Oh, sure. So I'll give you my website. My website is www.tournesolwellness.com, and I'll spell it for you because it is a French word. It's right. It's TOURNESOL wellness WELLNESS.com, and you can email me directly at Carey CAREY @tournesolwellness.com. And our office phone number is 646-395-1114. And we're on Facebook as Tournesol Wellness and on Instagram as Tournesol NYC. And we're on 36th Street between Park and Madison in Manhattan, 26 East 36th Street. So come on and visit.
Okay, wonderful. So, audience, again, you can check out Carey at her website, tournesolwellness.com. That's TOURNESOLWELLNESS, tournesolwellness.com. You can email her there, and her name is Carey, CAREY, at Tournesol Wellness. Her phone is, the office phone is 646-395-1114. She's on Facebook at Tournesol Wellness and also on Instagram at Tournesol NYC.
Carey, what final thoughts or key idea would you like our audience to take away from today's broadcast?
I would say it's going to be the message of the sunflower, that we should all know that we can empower ourselves. I see so many people who are disappointed because their doctor or their healer didn't cure them. And they go deeper and deeper into a sadness or a frustration, and they get more and more and more blocked from their own potential. And so I think we need to really understand our own abilities, surround ourselves with people who encourage us and encourage us to build and grow ourselves, and teach, people who can teach us tools that we can implement into our everyday lives to always be in a powerful state and know that you can turn toward the sun and know that, you have this inside of you. So that's I would say, that's my overall message that I'd like people to leave with.
That is absolutely fabulous, and I know that resonates with our audience, and it certainly resonates with Christine and I. So, yeah. Carey, I want to thank you for today's interview and being our featured guest. You were absolutely wonderful, and I know that many, many people are touched by your message. So, audience, I want to thank you also for listening, and I just want to say that every show that we do, we so much appreciate our audience, and regardless of the time zone you're in, many people don't realize that our show is literally heard all over the place. We are always surprised when we look at the statistics and we'll see our show being listened to in Africa or Australia or other places. So, audience, we look forward to receiving your comments and feedback, and we hope that you will contact us should you want to have us have someone back on our show that you enjoyed, like Carey, or if there's a topic you want us to cover that we haven't covered so far. So you can contact us through our website with your feedback and suggestions. Remember, listeners, if you'd like to experience the same benefits our coaching clients get with us, including learning how you can get more results in your day and easy ways to dissolve your chronic pain, stress, and anxiety, then give us a call at 954-900-2179. Mention that you heard our Learn to Live Stress-Free Now podcast series, and you will receive a free gift from us. Call today to schedule your appointment. For Christine Wright, This is Dr. Robert Wright Jr. of StressFreeNow.info. Until next time, be safe and be well.